Well, good morning. This is Houndog Steve wishing you a very pleasant morning. And something that crossed my mind the other day that I thought I would share with you is that as we're moving into a time where money might not be quite as available, or we may be doing a lot more bartering, this kind of stuff, we will be getting into a lot more situations that need to be negotiated. And whether we like it or not, we're all negotiators. Some of us are kicking and screaming into these situations. Many people, like myself, don't like confrontation, and negotiations always seem to have the possibility, shall we say, of becoming confrontational, especially whether it's a friend or a relative or a co-worker or something like that. So I read some books quite a few years ago now. This book was printed in 1981, and the second one after that I think was in 1990. And the book is Getting to Yes by Robert Fisher and William Ury, and Getting Past No. And I love that picture there of the cactus hand. I wonder how many people have met people like that in this world to negotiate with. So negotiating is something that we end up, like I say, having to do, but we're not all experts at it. And quite often, especially if you get into a real tough negotiation with someone who's very pushy or a bit of a bully, it's easy to take a lesser deal than you might have done, just because for the sake of peace, just to get the negotiation done, because it's just become like such an unbelievable high pressure situation. And this can be for negotiating for wages, this could be in a union situation, could be with your spouse, could be with your kids, buying a house, buying a car. Like I say, these situations, like I say, we are not naturally gifted. Well, maybe some people are, but many of us are not, and many of us do not like confrontation. And like I say, it's very easy to back down or accept a lesser deal because you don't have any answers, and that's what these books deal with. The main thrust of it is they ask you to bring in a third-party independent arbiter. So if you're negotiating over a price for a car, for example, and you can't come to terms, you would suggest that, well, you both go and get an appraiser of your choice, take two appraisals of the car, add them together, divide by 2, and whatever that result is, we'll agree that that's a fair price for the vehicle. If you're in a negotiation where it is physical, of course you call the police. There you go, there's your independent arbiter right there that everyone respects. Everyone is going to respect that situation. And although I am not, how can I put this? The police don't always make situations better, let's put it that way. But in situations where there is a power differential, that's the route you go. That's your third party outside arbiter that both parties respect. It gets into things like trying to get the problem on the other side of the table, and you and the person you're negotiating with working together to solve the problem rather than going at each other to solve the situation or come to some kind of agreement. And it takes that head on. I'm in opposition to this person. Okay, let's lay out what the problem is. What is it we want to negotiate over here, and make that the problem, and put that on the other side of the table, and you're going to collaborate to come to a solution. Okay, fleshing out an idea of what people actually want. People often go into a negotiation and they want one particular thing, and they think that to get that one particular thing they have to get everything. And one of the funny little stories that are in the book about to explain how that works, they have a story of a brother and a sister, and there is an orange, and both brother and sister want the orange. And they bicker backwards and forwards, and they argue and so on and so forth, and they end up cutting the orange in half. Okay, so the brother takes his half of the orange, peels the orange, throws the center away, and uses the rind in a cake recipe that he is baking. And the sister, she takes her half of the orange, peels the orange, throws the peel away, and eats the center part of the orange. Okay, and you can see quite clearly had they understood what each other wanted out of the negotiation, they could both have had absolutely everything that they wanted. So it's important to be able to take a pause and ask, what is it you want? What are we going to do here? Another idea that it comes up with is establishing how strong your BATNA is. That's a BATNA, and that stands for your best alternative to a negotiated agreement. So, for example, if you are negotiating over a pay rise with your boss and you have another job all lined up and they're just waiting for you to refuse, the offer is there, you just have to accept it. Hey, guess what? You don't have to go into your boss's office cap in hand. You can basically go with a list and say, hey, I want this, 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 and this, and this. And if I don't get it, I'm gone. Okay. If you have a very weak BATNA, in other words, your next step, if you fail in this negotiation, it could possibly be out on the street if you lose your job. Well, then you have to take your cap off and be a little bit more conciliatory about what you want. But it's understanding how strong your position is. Dictates how you are going to play out your side of the negotiation. And so these books will help guide you through, and very thin, both of them, look at that, they're not very thick books, easy read, and lots of great examples of how to put into practice what you're learning about the art of negotiation. And like I say, down the road, the kind of life I think that we're heading towards, certainly, if inflation keeps on the way it is, and I think it will do, you're going to find that we are negotiating a lot more over things that you never thought you would negotiate over. And this is a way to keep the whole deal fair. Now, I will say this, if you are a bully, if you are a tough negotiator and you want to win at all costs, these books will be of no help at all. The real power in these books is the fact that you're looking for no more than a fair deal. And yes, you can negotiate people down to the bottom dollar. You can get them on their knees begging, but if that person walks away, and we all know this, we've been in this situation, if that person walks away with a bad taste in their mouth, it's not going to be easy to go back and negotiate, especially if it's your partner. Okay, so if you're going for fair, I think, I will argue 100%, and I will accept 100% responsibility for my 50%. Okay, that's the attitude that you want to go in with, and you want to have people walking away both smiling, feeling that they got a fair deal. I mean, I think even a bully in a negotiation, it's not like you're trying to whip him or her. You are just saying, hey, look, it's fair. I'm looking for a fair deal, and I'm going to hold you to a fair deal. Now, the other side of this, too, there is a really important component to any negotiation, and that is you have to be prepared to walk away from the table and go, that's it, I'm not doing that. If you cannot do that, you will fail in the negotiation. Okay, so don't make yourself so invested into something that you cannot get up and walk away and say, no, I'm not doing it. That's it. That's you want too much, and we can't seem to come to a compromise here. So, like I say, over the price of a car, hey, I'm gone. If if they say, well, I don't want to bring in a negotiation, you have to be prepared to leave to walk away from that car deal or the house deal or whatever it is, and accept that. Otherwise, you're going to beg yourself in the process of negotiation, and the other person will recognize. We all know what it looks like when you know that the other person is ready just to walk. Okay, and it changes the way you negotiate about things. So you have to be that person, and it takes some gumption and some strength to be able to be in that position where you know that don't hesitate. You reach a certain point, that's my line, I'm not going past that line, I'm just going to walk away. I don't have to have this deal. Some deals are more sensitive and you will have to compromise, depending on what is being held over your head, or the loss. You know, how much do you have to lose if this negotiation fails? This is your partner. This is why you have to sit down and realize, you know, what kind of hand you have to play in this negotiation. And so anyway, I would highly recommend, I'm going to leave the link below in the description box, that you go and purchase these copies. They're not expensive, and learn how to negotiate. This is going to be probably one of the most important things that you can learn going ahead to take care of yourself. And like I say, it doesn't come naturally, where, you know, most people don't, let's say, they just cave. They just don't know how to, you know, navigate around or look for the opportunities. You know, how to build a golden bridge for the other person, whilst at the same time, you know, talking about not the consequences, but the downside of a failure to negotiate, and rather than using the power, you know, and again, going at loggerheads with each other, which usually doesn't work. Okay, the more you make it harder for the other person to say no, the harder you make it for them to say yes. And that's an important thing to remember. Okay, the harder you make it for the other person to say no in a negotiation, in other words, if you have them on their knees, the harder you make it for them to say yes, because nobody wants to be on their knees in a negotiation. Like I say, it leaves a bad taste in your mouth, and you know, you won't forget that experience. And it talks about this loss of face. You know, if you're in a union negotiation, for example, you know, you cannot have that union negotiator on his knees to go back to his membership and say, well, we couldn't get anything. Okay, you have to have a face-saving device built into the negotiation, and realize that that's necessary, you know, and when it's necessary. Because, like I say, one of the hardest things in the world is for someone to lose face. We've all been in that situation, and I'm sure that we've all had to accept that at some point, and it's not easy. Okay, you have to swallow that pride. So loss of face, if you can build that into your negotiation, and these are all the kinds of tips and strategies that you can use to make sure that you don't end up walking away empty-handed in a deal, or that you just get, you know, like I say, browbeaten by a much stronger and in-your-face opponent. Anyway, I just want to make this quick video to show you these two books, like I say, because I think you are going to find we will be going into a situation where not only will you want to negotiate more about things, but other people will want you to negotiate, because, you know, money might not be quite as available, or it may come in different forms. You know, are you going to get paid in hours, in favors, in returned work, this kind of stuff, food, what, you know, you can name your price. Okay, all that has to be negotiated. So anyway, like I say, I'll leave the links below in the description box. I would highly recommend these books. They're not expensive, and I know that they will make an awful lot of difference in your negotiating style, and it, I think, will make a huge difference for you to have these tools in your pocket going down the road. Okay, well, if you've enjoyed this video, please like, comment, subscribe below, and in the meantime, this is Houndog Steve wishing you a very pleasant morning, and we'll talk very, very shortly. You take care now. See ya. Bye.